maybe. All right. I'm not sure what's happened now.
On my end, it says we're live.
It does?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, but I'm not on Facebook.
All right. We're ready to start then. All right. Welcome to Sevier County Democratic Candidate Forum. I'm Sarah Thompson, the chair of the Sevier County Democratic Party. Our first session features your Tennessee State Representative candidates Bennett Lapides for District 12 and Delynn McCash for District 17. Depending upon where in Sevier County that you live, one of them is your candidate. They are not running against each other. If you are not sure which district you live in, you can find out by clicking on the link in the live stream comments. Although we had to move this forum online, we want it to be as interactive as possible, so we have executive committee members monitoring the comments in the live stream to pass on your questions for the candidates to answer them in real time. To begin, Bennett and Delynn will introduce themselves and give you an idea of what is important to them. And then they will answer your live questions and some that the party received by email in advance. We will drop their website and Facebook information in the comments so that you can follow up if you want to get involved with their campaign. Let's get started. Bennett, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. My name is Bennett Lapides. I was born and raised here in Sevier County. And I'm running because I think we need to protect the environment. I believe healthcare is a human right. We need to protect public education, and I would like to make a better future for all Tennesseans.
Thank you, Bennett, and welcome. Delynn, would you?
Hi, my name is Delynn McCash, and I'd like to start out first by thanking the Sevier County Democrats for all the hard work that went into putting this together, and especially the executive committee who put a lot of hours into making this happen. So my name is Delynn McCash. I have lived in this area for almost 20 years. I have been a teacher in Jefferson County and Hamlin County for the past 20 or so years. And I am very grateful for this opportunity to run as your representative. I believe strongly in health care and that it needs to be provided to all of our citizens. I believe strongly that our schools need to be strengthened and protected. And I believe that we need to, in District 17, concentrate on building our infrastructure, including our roads, our bridges, our floodplains, and providing internet to all the people in our rural area.
Thank you, Delynn, and welcome to you as well. All right, our first question, excuse me, our first question today, and I will ask Delynn first, if she will, is from Leslie, and she said that 35 states do not have laws against rape in police custody.
Oh.
Would you support a law in Tennessee that would make it a crime?
To be raped while you're in police custody?
We do not have a law in this state that is against police raping people while they're in police custody.
That would seem to be a no-brainer. I worked for the Tullahoma City Police Department for a while as a public service officer, and I would think that all the police officers I knew there would agree that there needs to be a law against people being raped while they're in custody. I don't see any problem with that whatsoever.
Thank you. And Bennett, what would your position be?
Yes, no, that is atrocious. I mean, you know, we obviously need systemic police reform across this country on a variety of issues. And when there are things that are as just particularly abhorrent as that, it is obvious that some of these reforms need to be from the ground up.
We also need to put in place protections for both the people apprehended and the police, with monitoring cameras and so forth, so that we can prevent these things from happening. Things that are always monitored would help in that, so that nothing like this could happen.
Along with, you're proposing along with the law to make it illegal to, I mean, it should be illegal, but to specifically state that it's illegal.
Yeah, I don't see why it would fall under the regular rape laws. Rape is rape no matter where it takes place.
I'm going to ask Delynn this next question. What programs do you suggest or support to improve and fund education in Tennessee?
Well, to begin with, no vouchers. The voucher program is the antithesis of anything supportive of public education. And it's designed to really tear down our public education as we know it. We've got to make sure that the focus goes back toward what we are educating our students and how we are educating our students and how we support that happening. Right now, there are so many laws in the Tennessee legislature that are punitive to teachers for things that they have no control over. Those laws definitely need to be changed because that deteriorates the teacher workforce to a point where we are having a hard time getting teachers to want to fill empty job positions. So that would be one big change. The testing, you know, as like I said, I've been teaching 23 years and I have never known one test that I've ever given that's determined the outcome of what one of my students became in the future. Those tests are ridiculous. Again, just designed to punish and to rate places for real estate. And they've torn apart the fiber of our parental support. We really need to do something to address. I'm not against testing and making sure that kids are on point and learning, absolutely. But to have it such high stakes and to determine the outcome of it, you know, in second grade, the outcome of what a child can become is ridiculous.
Bennett, is there anything there that you would like to discuss? Yes.
Well, yeah, I'd like to echo that, you know, the voucher program was just a bad idea. I think at this point it's been ruled unconstitutional, at least in some areas of the state. And, you know, I believe very much that public funds should go to public education. We should not be moving that money to private education. We should seriously relook at how we're doing standardized testing in this country. I mean, you know, I grew up under the majority of my K through 12 was under the No Child Left Behind system. And there were a lot of flaws in that system. And it didn't exactly prepare me, I think, for college in the best way. And I had to pick up a lot of things along the way as I got into college. And aside from that, I think we just need to, you know, pay teachers more, fund education better. Why is it that teachers have to spend their own money on school supplies? Why is it that student lunch debt is even a thing in this country? I don't really understand those things.
Sarah, I'd like to refer back to something else too about vouchers. You know, it's once again an uneven playing field because we're giving public money to private schools that are not required to do the same thing that the public schools are required to do. They're not required to take all students and any student. They're not required to provide the things that students, say, of disabilities need to have in order to attend their schools. They're not required to have the same rules as far as no pass, no play. They're not required to have the same rules on hours of attendance. They're not required to have any of the same things that public schools are required to do. We're required to do that by virtue of accepting the money from the state and local and federal authorities. Why wouldn't the people who accepted that money for vouchers be required to do the same thing? And so if you're a private school and you're driven by religion, which is fine, I have nothing against private schools, private religious schools, but if the public money comes your way, then you cannot, I mean, public money cannot go to support a private religion. So you would have to be fall under the same rules where you wouldn't be allowed to do the same things that we're not allowed to do in public school. So and that I don't think that the people who are promoting vouchers realize that that door swings both ways.
Good point. Thank you, Delynn. Okay, Bennett, I'm going to ask you the next step or the next question I have in front of me. It's what steps, if any, should be taken to curb gun violence in our communities?
Well, you know, I think that it is, again, I graduated from high school in 2014. I remember when Sandy Hook happened. I remember when I was a senior in high school, there was a threat against the Sevier County education system, and I was a teacher's aide at the time, so I was privy to it. And the teacher whose teacher today I was basically told me to lock down the classroom without alerting any of the students. And I remember looking out the window of the portable classroom we were in, because our language department wasn't funded any better than being in the portable classrooms. And I saw that if he had been coming to my high school, we would have been the first thing he saw. Luckily, thank God, that man was stopped. It turned out he was going to one of the elementary schools, I believe. But systemic reform, again, needs to happen there. I think one of the most basic things we could do is red flag laws. We need to re-examine how guns are treated in this country, because the Second Amendment protects guns. It does, but it also calls for a well-regulated protection of those guns.
So there's one thing to own a gun, and it's another thing to own a weapon of huge destruction that's more of a warlike weapon. And I understand people wanting the right to carry guns. I've been in the military. I've had a lot of experience with guns, but I don't understand why we so easily allow people to have the rapid fire machine guns and such that come into our school that shooters use. So I think that I would like to see some sort of regulation done on that. I believe in background checks. I strongly believe in background checks. And I'm not a fan of the permitless carry.
Okay, thank you. Before we pivot too much away from schools, I know that we just had a question come in from Barbara, who wanted to know, and I'm going to pose this to Delynn first. Where do you stand on charter schools in rural Tennessee?
Charter schools are a slippery slope, because it looked like at first that it was a grand experiment that would make things wonderful. But charter schools have the same problem that I just addressed with vouchers. They don't play on the same terms. So the accountability for how that money is spent on charter schools has so many hidden loopholes that people are literally stealing money from our government without educating the children. If we decide to continue on charter schools, and I personally don't see the necessity for it, especially in rural schools where the high schools and the school itself is a hub for the community. So if we continue on the road with charter schools, we've got to have the same accountability for the money that they spend, and they have to have the same accountability and rules that regular schools have. You can't just pick the cream of the crop for your students. You've got to take all students as they come to you.
Bennett, do you have any thoughts on charter schools?
You know, I have to agree with Delynn there. It's like she said, a slippery slope is a good way to put it. I think that, you know, Sevier County has a proud tradition of public education. Before the moonshine industry came, the Sevier County education system was the largest employer in this county. We have some of the best schools in the state here. My classmates, when I graduated high school, my classmates and I broke a record for how many scholarship dollars we as a class had garnered. Our public education system works. It could work even better if we actually put the proper funding behind it.
Yeah, and Sarah, there's a problem with branding as far as public schools go. Senator Nicely asked me about why our schools got this and that rating, and I honestly think it's branding, because I know that at Jefferson County High School, I think that there was like 5 people that got to go to academy, the military academies. They got accepted for Ivy League schools. There is no backsliding at Jefferson County schools either, and they're very highly rated. What happens though is that we start, or these outside entities start branding our schools as bad, and people buy into it. But when you really see what we provide in our public schools these days, especially in our public high schools, with all the career and technology resources that we have poured into our high schools, these kids come out of high school with an associate's degree now. I mean, they come out well prepared to be productive citizens from our local high schools. They're not going to get that same thing coming out of the private schools that are around here. they don't have the same ability to provide the technological experiences that we have.
Appreciate it. We're going to move on just a minute. So to Bennett, what is your position on expanding TennCare?
I think we need to expand TennCare. It is unfortunate that during a global health crisis that we have not taken the steps in Tennessee to expand TennCare and Medicare at all. Like I said in my introduction, healthcare is a human right. It is abhorrent to me that people in this country ration their insulin. It is abhorrent that we let the pharmaceutical industry take so clear advantage of so many people. The government should be doing more to stop that.
Thank you. Delanne?
So I have a friend of mine who had trouble getting insulin for her daughter, and she actually went to her veterinarian and got insulin for her dog so she could give it to her daughter. That was, that is just so unacceptable to me on every level. This woman works for a living, but she works in a service industry, and she didn't make enough money in order to be able to purchase the health care that she needed that would help her daughter. So we have people say, oh, there's nothing wrong with healthcare. The only people who are saying there's nothing wrong with healthcare is the person who has healthcare provided for them by their worker and who doesn't have to pay $600 for a prescription.
Thank you very much. Delanne, explain why the lack of internet is so detrimental and what you will do to make internet more accessible in rural areas of Tennessee.
Okay, so to be an informed citizen today, we do need the internet. That's how a lot of our government is communicating with people, especially right now in the pandemic. That's the way a lot of people are getting all of their communication. Unfortunately, right now, we might be seeing the worst 10% doing the craziest things. But overall, where do we go for information? Our internet is our encyclopedia today. So it's just a basic necessity. Schools are using the internet to provide lessons during this pandemic, and it goes again to show how much we need internet. Now, internet has been a problem here in this area for a long time, and the reason why we don't have reliable internet is because of the arguments that come from the powerful people who own the internet. I'm one of the people who believe that the citizens own the internet. I really, really like the plan of AEDC and utilizing the TVA plans, getting internet to every house. If we decide to go with AEDC and the Tennessee Valley Authority's plans, which they're backing with money and grants, it means that, again, everyone is included, not just the places where they're going to get the most bang for their buck. But if you go with the larger places like the larger companies, they're only going to put money in if they think they're going to get money back. So I don't think that you can take a person's ability to access knowledge away because the people who live in that area don't have the income to give to these big companies. It's the same as with the phone. It went to everybody. Electricity went to everybody. That's how the TVA did it, and that's how they need the internet.
Thank you, Delanne. Bennett, how do you feel about the importance of internet in the rural community?
Yeah, I think in the year 2020, it's long past time that we need to start treating the internet like a basic utility. It is no longer a luxury. Mm-hmm. It should be treated the same way we treat electricity and water. I mean, as the global pandemic has shown, it is desperately important to our education system, our healthcare system, basically every system. I mean, this forum would not be possible right now if it were not for the internet. I personally look to what the city of Chattanooga has done. Chattanooga has become a tech hub almost. They did municipal broadband, and the cable companies sued them over it, and the cable companies lost. And now suddenly the cable companies actually have to compete and are offering better prices and faster speeds.
Exactly.
The cable companies in this country, and in Tennessee especially, as some of our legislators in Tennessee are some of the best funded by the cable industry, are, you know, they have a de facto monopoly on the system, and it breaks the public trust.
Right. If you look at the Commission on Campaign Financing, you will see exactly which ones of these internet cable companies are funding and supporting our candidates by giving generous donations.
Doing a little bit.
And that information is open on the internet and easily accessible.
All right, I'm going to move along. We're starting to get pressed a little bit for time here. And I'm going to go with Delynn this time. Do you think that medical marijuana would be legal in Tennessee or should be legal in Tennessee? And will you take steps to move existing legislation about it forward?
Yes and yes.
Okay, very simple. Bennett, your feelings on the subject?
The same. I find it archaic the way we treat marijuana in this country. The fact that the federal government still treats it the same as heroin has slowed down medical research by decades. It is something that has been shown to help children with seizures, cancer patients, and veterans. The fact that we keep it from them for arbitrary reasons is shameful.
My stepfather died of severe cancer, form of cancer. And if medical marijuana could have taken away one day of his pain, I would have moved heaven and earth. You know, I mean, I totally think that it's valuable.
Thank you. And I think we probably have time for one more question here. So, Bennett, Tennessee ranks 49th out of 50 with the lowest percentage of households with a rainy day or emergency fund. What can we do to bring economic stability and opportunity to Tennessee?
Well, there's a lot we can do. I personally, one of the first things that come to my mind is we need to look to 2010 when we were coming out of another global recession. That one was not as bad as this one will likely be. But in response to that, in 2009, 2010, the Tennessee legislature changed the laws surrounding breweries and distilleries. And that is what has brought the moonshine industry to be the behemoth that it is. Everywhere in the country, you can get Old Smoky moonshine now, right from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I personally believe that we should do the same with cannabis. It is obvious at this point that cannabis will become legal federally, and we should be making the tax money on that while we can, because we border 7 states and none of them have it.
Thank you. Delynn, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, the question is like, what could we do to help Tennessee
economic stability and opportunity?
Tennessee does not have a minimum wage. We're one of the very few states that does not have a minimum wage. We link to whatever the federal government's minimum wage is. And again, that's still ridiculously low. But we can do something starting right there is to put in a minimum wage in place. I also think that focusing on District 17 in particular, we are such a service-driven society here, and service-driven depends on tips. It depends on low wages. We have to do something to support the livability of our service workers. We have to see more apartments built that are subsidized by the government. And by that, that's a very tricky thing. When I was in the military and making very low wages, I lived in an apartment where I paid a wage. I paid for my apartment, and proudly so, but it was based on my pay scale. We can have some subsidized apartments in this area based on our service workers' pay scales, which gives them the dignity of earning their paycheck and paying their rent, but also gives them the ability to live in a place that's safe and clean and nice. And that makes them a better worker. It makes us it gives us a better standard of living. And it all goes around. So we need to support a minimum wage, and we need to support our service workers in this area.
Thank you, Delynn. Okay, well, it looks like we need to start wrapping up now. So I'm going to give each of you a chance to give a little summary of, what is important to you again, and if there's something you want to fill in and back on a question that we asked. So Bennett, this time I'll let you start.
Okay. Again, I'm Bennett Lapides. I am born and raised in this county, and I want to fight for a better future for all Tennesseans. I believe we can do that as we start to treat healthcare as a human right. We protect the environment. We end the archaic persecution of people over our archaic drug war that has been an utter failure. We can make a better future for all Tennesseans if we do these things. And I would like to ask you for your support in helping me to defeat Dale Carr. And hopefully in January, Delynn and I will be in Nashville fighting for you.
And I will remind everybody that the links for their Facebook page and information should be in the live stream comments. Delynn?
Again, I'd like to take a minute to thank you for hosting this forum. This is a great way to reach out to our constituents. I'd like to wind up by saying that the candidate that I'm running against has served the last 8 years. And in that time, we have not seen internet come here in this rural area, although we've been asking for it. We have not seen the floodplains being corrected. People in District 17 drive down Leaveney. They're living in houses that are underwater. We have not seen corrections being made to bridges that have still been out for over 8 years now. So I would like to say that if you are satisfied at what we have not seen in these areas, then we can go standard quo. But if you want somebody who's willing to fight for our tax dollars being brought back to this area, District 17 is the second highest taxpayer in the state of Tennessee. We are only behind Metro Nashville. We pay more in taxes than Chattanooga does. We send more tax money to Nashville than Chattanooga does. But we do not see that kind of support coming back here for our roads and bridges, our infrastructure, and our children. And I think it's about time that somebody who's strong enough to say, hey, it's time for you to put our money back into us needs to go to Nashville. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining us for the Sevier County Democratic Party's Democratic Candidate Forum. Our next session, featuring U.S. House of Representative candidate Blair Walsingham, will begin in about 15 minutes at 2:45. I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, Ben.
Thank you. Good luck.